The story of the Titanic is one of history's most famous and tragic maritime disasters. We've all heard the tales of heroism, sacrifice, and survival. But amidst the stories of the 1,500 people who lost their lives, there's a lesser-known chapter, one that involves the ship's most loyal and furry passengers. Tonight, we're uncovering the incredible and often overlooked stories of the dogs of the Titanic. When the RMS Titanic set sail on its maiden voyage from Southampton on April 10, 1912, it was a floating palace of luxury. For the wealthy first-class passengers, no comfort was spared. And for many, that meant bringing their beloved canine companions along for the journey. It's estimated that at least 12 dogs were aboard the ship, living a life of luxury right alongside their owners. They had their own kennels, were walked daily on the deck, and were treated as cherished members of the family. These weren't just any dogs. There was Kitty, a beautiful Airedale Terrier owned by the millionaire John Jacob Astor for one of the wealthiest men in the world. The Astors were returning from their honeymoon. There was also a champion French bulldog named Gamin de Pickham, owned by a young banker, Robert Daniel. He had purchased the dog in England for a hefty sum, equivalent to over $20,000 today. Other dogs included a King Charles Spaniel, a Chow Chow, and various other small breeds, all pampered and adored. For the first few days of the voyage, life was idyllic. The dogs enjoyed their daily routines, blissfully unaware of the fate that awaited them and their human companions. Passengers would often stop to admire the dogs during their walks, a small, cheerful distraction on the vast Atlantic Ocean. But on the freezing night of April 14th, everything changed forever. When the Titanic struck the iceberg, chaos erupted. The order was given: women and children first into the lifeboats. As families were torn apart and panic set in, a difficult choice had to be made. What would happen to the dogs? For most, the answer was heartbreaking. The ship's crew, focused on saving human lives, unlocked the kennels and let the dogs out, leaving them to fend for themselves on the tilting decks. Imagine the confusion and fear of these animals as the ship began its final, terrifying plunge into the icy water. John Jacob Astor was last seen on deck, having placed his pregnant wife, Madeline, into a lifeboat. He reportedly went to the kennels to release his Airedale Kitty and the other dogs, giving them a final, desperate chance at survival. Sadly, Astor, along with his valet and his beloved dog Kitty, went down with the ship. Most of the dogs aboard the Titanic met a similar, tragic fate, lost to the frigid waters of the North Atlantic. Their stories, like those of so many passengers, ended that night. But this isn't just a story of loss. Incredibly, against all odds, 3 dogs survived the sinking of the Titanic. Their survival is a testament to their small size and the fierce devotion of their owners. The survivors were all small lapdogs, easily hidden and carried by their owners as they boarded the lifeboats. The first survivor was Lady, a tiny Pomeranian owned by Margaret Bechstein Hayes. When the chaos began, Margaret wrapped Lady in a blanket and carried her into Lifeboat 7. In the confusion, no one noticed the small, furry bundle. Margaret and Lady spent hours in the cold open boat waiting for rescue. Lady reportedly stayed quiet the entire time, nestled safely in her owner's arms. They were eventually picked up by the rescue ship, the Carpathia, and Lady became one of the first Titanic survivors to set foot on safe ground. The second survivor was another Pomeranian, this one belonging to the wealthy Rothschild family. Elizabeth Jane Ann Rothschild refused to board Lifeboat 6 without her precious pet. In the darkness and urgency, her pleas were either ignored or her dog went unnoticed. She managed to bring her companion with her to safety. Like Lady, this little dog remained quiet throughout the ordeal, a small, warm comfort in the face of unimaginable tragedy. The third and final canine survivor was Sun Yat-sen, a Pekingese owned by Henry and Myra Harper of the Harper and Row publishing family. As they prepared to board Lifeboat 3, Henry simply carried Sun Yat-sen with him. When asked about it later, he reportedly said there seemed to be plenty of room, and nobody made any objection. The Harpers, along with their dragoman and their little dog, were rescued by the Carpathia. Sun Yat-sen's survival is another remarkable tale of a small dog being smuggled to safety by a determined owner. The survival of these three small dogs stands in stark contrast to the fate of the larger breeds left behind. It's a story that highlights the chaos and the split-second decisions made that night. While some may question the choice to save a pet when human lives were at stake, for these owners, their dogs were family. In a moment of utter despair, they clung to the one source of unconditional love and comfort they had. The stories of the dogs that didn't make it are just as poignant. One particularly heart-wrenching account involves a woman named Elizabeth Isham. She had boarded Lifeboat 11 but was told her Great Dane was too large to come with her. Anne refused to leave her dog behind. She got out of the lifeboat and went back to the ship to be with her beloved companion. Days later, a recovery ship reportedly found the body of a woman frozen in the water, clinging tightly to a large dog. It is widely believed this was an Isham and her faithful Great Dane. A final, tragic testament to the bond between a human and her animal. Then there was the story of Rigel, a large black Newfoundland owned by the ship's first officer, William Murdoch. Murdoch went down with the ship, but legend has it that Rigel survived the initial sinking. The story goes that for hours Rigel swam in the freezing water, searching for his master. His barking is said to have guided a lifeboat from the Carpathia to a group of struggling survivors, saving their lives before he was finally pulled from the water himself. This story has been widely circulated for decades. However, historical research has found no record of First Officer Murdoch owning a dog, nor any mention of Rigel in the official survivor accounts from the Carpathia. While it's a powerful and heroic tale, it appears to be a legend, born from a desire to find hope and heroism in the midst of tragedy. It speaks to our deep wish to see our canine friends as heroes, even in the darkest of times. The stories of the Titanic's dogs add another layer of emotion to an already epic tragedy. They remind us that the passengers on that fateful voyage were not just statistics, but living, breathing people with families, hopes, and beloved pets. The fates of Lady Sun Yat-sen and the Rothschilds' Pomeranian are small miracles in a sea of sorrow. Their survival was a matter of size, circumstance, and sheer luck. Today, the story of the Titanic continues to captivate us. And as we remember the people who were lost and those who survived, it's worth taking a moment to remember the 12 dogs who were also on that journey. Their tale is one of luxury, loyalty, heartbreak, and improbable survival. It reminds us of the profound and unbreakable bond we share with our animal companions. A bond that for some was strong enough to face even the most catastrophic of disasters. The dogs of the Titanic may be a footnote in a much larger story, but it's a footnote written with love, loyalty, and an enduring legacy. Thank you for joining us on this journey back in time. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Canine Secrets for more hidden histories. We'll see you in the next video.